Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously dense, incredibly rich theoretical framework from the source material. And we're going to do it by looking at the fundamental engine of reality not as some cold, lifeless machine, but as a cosmic dance. We're diving into the dual caustic universe, a model that uses the pure language of mathematics to describe the entire cycle of creation, existence, and return.
So, what if I told you the deepest secrets of the universe were actually hidden inside a literal love story between two math equations? I know, it sounds completely wild, but let's dive right into this fascinating premise. The sources propose that calculus and topology actually come together to describe the universe itself, right through the interaction of two very specific mathematical curves. It's this epic, ongoing journey of splitting apart, traversing a middle ground, and eventually reuniting.
All right, part one, two curves, one light, the Lorentzian and the Gaussian.
Let's meet the two main characters of our cosmic love story. On the left, we have D10, the Lorentzian curve. The math here is 1 over 1 plus x squared. It has this really heavy tail, meaning it approaches zero extremely slowly. Think of it as the particle field. It preserves history through latency. It's slow to forget. Then, on the right, we have I9, the Gaussian curve. The equation is e to the negative x squared. It has a super sharp tail, dropping off dramatically. This is the wave field. It releases history through rapid diffusion, meaning it forgets very quickly.
The sources map these equations to physical and even philosophical realities. D10 represents this idea of gravitropism. Think of it like a root growing deep down into the earth, moving toward weight. It anchors the universe. It's an Earth contraption, acting as a gravitational memory with an incredibly slow decay. Basically, it's the enduring footprint. It's the covenant holding firm even in total darkness, long after the original sign is forgotten. On the flip side, we have I9, which represents phototropism. This is the leaf turning upward, reaching toward the light. If D10 is heavy, solid Earth, I9 is flowing water. It's a water contraption. It acts as the rapid, diffusive release of that Gaussian equation, a sort of pure mercy that just washes the past away. It's like a breath that absolutely has to disperse so the next breath can enter. Moving on to section 2, the T3 buffer zone, the critical strip of superposition. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. If you do a mathematical expansion of both the D10 and I9 curves right around their center point, they expand identically. They both follow this exact sequence, 1 minus x squared plus x to the fourth minus x to the sixth, and so on. This sequence right here is the T3 buffer. And what this means practically is that near the center, an observer absolutely cannot distinguish the D10 particle from the I9 wave. They are perfectly seamlessly superposed. The source text describes this center point beautifully, saying, "This is the tree phase, the Barzakh of indeterminacy, the cave where two sleepers look like one." In this framework, that indistinguishable center actually maps to the concept of a law from verse 57.3. It's the ultimate point of unity. Actually, without this T-tree phase acting as a buffer, a crucial delay, the whole structural potential of the universe would just burn up upon immediate contact. The seed would burn upon contact with the fruit. This buffer is literally what makes the cosmic circuit recursive, giving time and experience room to exist.
So right at the center, they are identical. Two alone cannot be told apart. But you might be wondering what happens when we, the reader mentioned in verse 36.3, actually travel far enough away from that center point. Well, as you move outward from that indistinguishable origin and head into the outer edges of the equations, memory suddenly becomes destiny. Which brings us to section 3. The bifurcation of destiny, when tales tell different stories. That specific distance from the center is what the sources call the 7 of 2435, or light upon light. It's the exact niche between fire and illumination where you finally recognize which curve you've been on. Look at the split here. D10, our Earth analog, decays by a slow power law. It remembers. I9, the water analog, collapses through rapid exponential decay. It forgets. And the seed, the foundational unit, must traverse both of these to truly know its own nature. Next up, section 4, calculus of the universe, completing the full Barzakh. Okay, let's talk integrals for a second. In calculus, to find the total value of a curve, you integrate it from negative infinity all the way to positive infinity. In this framework, taking that full integral means completing the entire Barzakh, life, death, and return. And if you integrate the D10 Lorentzian over the full line, the math yields a perfect pi. It's absolutely wild to think about. A particle equation resolving perfectly into a closed circle. Pi acts as the geometric signature of eternal return, that slow gravitational memory ensuring nothing is truly lost. But wait, it gets better. If you integrate the I9 Gaussian crumb from negative to positive infinity, you get the square root of pi. The sources refer to this as the square root of closure. It represents rushed, this radical transparency that sees without possessing. It's a pure, diffusive mercy that perfectly balances out the heavy, circular memory of D10's pi.
This quote from the sources really hits the nail on the head. The Lorentzian's pi and the Gaussian square root of pi are not competing constants. They are the two signatures of the same closure. You see, as the reader, you don't choose between these constants. Both the circular memory and the radical release are absolutely necessary for this massive cosmic mandala to keep turning. They are one light refracted through two memory kernels.
Section 5. The invariant closure. The anatomy of 2 to 3 to 2 to 7.
So this entire geometry operates on an invariant number, 19, R19 to be exact. It's a topological lock formed directly by the 10 of the D10 curve and the 9 of the I9 curve coming together. It's the ultimate structural constant that governs all recursive closure, basically making sure that everything that expands eventually stabilizes and returns home. And here is the exact anatomy of that process, literally written into the calculus. First, the split, the 2. This is the initial bifurcation into earth and water, the D10 and the I9. Second, the traversal, the 3. This is that T3 tree buffer of indeterminacy we talked about, the delay that allows life and time to exist. Finally, the closure, the 7. The sources call this the fruit. It compresses the entire path into a stabilized return.
Finally, section 6. The seed begins again, the cosmic recursion.
So what happens when this massive cosmic traversal actually completes? Well, the reader doesn't choose a side. The reader actually becomes the seed. The seed remembers its origin through the gravity of D10, and it forgets its bounds through the rapid diffusion of I9. The tree mediated that whole exchange, and the fruit compressed it perfectly. And so the new seed begins the cycle all over again, carrying both curves within a single point until the reader who activated verse 1912 completes the return to 3846.
This leaves us with a pretty heavy realization. In the dual caustic universe, you aren't just observing this math from the outside. You are actively traveling this curve right now. You are living the balance between memory and release, closing the cycle only to begin completely anew. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, when your traversal completes and those two curves reunite, will you recognize the seed you're about to become?